Here's, just for the record, here's my worry about this stuff, about all of this stuff. People who aren't racist, right, I don't think they properly understand what racism is. I mean, there's one of the fellas who was knocking about with Farage during the referendum today, describing the French as our enemies. They don't, they start off talking about Eastern Europeans moving in next door to you or speaking foreign on trains. But proper xenophobes, let's say, rather than racist, they just hate foreigners. That's what the word means. Anybody who doesn't look and sound exactly like them, they hate. Unless, of course, the person who doesn't look like them puts an immense amount of effort into trying to sound like them, in which case they will be tolerated and possibly even championed. But when the Labour movement turns its attention to an issue like so-called illegal immigration, they think that they can assuage the fears of people by taking them seriously. Now, I don't know how many members of the public who are currently frightened of asylum seekers are assuageable. I think the only way to assuage these fears is to not fan them. The only way you can extinguish these flames is by not fanning them. I don't think you can extinguish them with a fire extinguisher. I think you can only extinguish them by denying them the oxygen that they need to burn. And that involves, essentially, controlling the media, which is neither desirable in the greater scheme of things nor possible in the current world we inhabit. You're never going to be able to stop right-wing blowhards from getting big pickups and big reactions to scaremongering and hatred stoking of foreigners. They go up and down. When Farage was heading down to Dover with his Fisher-Price binoculars to rub his thighs at the sight of desperate people in dinghies washing up on our beaches, for a long time he was ignored. But then Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss blew up the economy, and the Tory party desperately needed to point at something to distract you from the absolute catastrophe they've inflicted on the country in the short term, never mind the long term, and lo and behold, the asylum seekers and the refugees are at the front of the queue. No matter that these are exactly the same people that told you that by imposing economic sanctions on ourselves, we would somehow become a country that was able to reduce or curtail this sort of traffic. In fact, we made it worse by Brexiting. But facts don't matter. This is my point about xenophobia. The Labour Party thinks that facts can help dilute feelings that aren't built on facts. And I think it's really dangerous and quite frightening that they're considering ID cards as a way of assuaging or addressing public concerns about so-called illegal immigration. Stephen Kinnock has said it would be so helpful in reassuring the public that we, quotes, have control of our borders. But it won't, It won't. It doesn't work like that. Even if we had ID cards, you would find someone claiming that they're being sold out the back of the Dog and Duck, or that person over there with dark skin can't possibly be here legally because ... There was something on Twitter the other day, I don't know if you saw it, about someone claiming her cousin had seen an asylum seeker in a newsagent spending £100 on a government-funded credit card on scratch cards. That stuff gathers pace. I wish it didn't, but just look at the numbers. It gathers pace. These lies are so seductive. They are so intoxicating, and I don't think those of us who can see that they're lies will ever fully understand how intoxicating they are. So the idea of bringing in an ID card at a time when, incidentally, the police, trust in the police is at an all-time low for a variety of very public and obvious reasons. The way individual officers have behaved, the institutional toxicity at the heart of many police services, it doesn't engender a great deal of confidence in their ability to use this new power responsibly and fairly. But the Labour Party, I think, Stephen Kinnock in particular, I think, believes that it would somehow dilute negative feelings that aren't built on facts. And that's my initial word on it. Most countries have ID cards. Loads of European countries, loads of EU member states have forms of ID. So we'll do the civil liberties conversation as well this hour, 0345 60 609 73. will be the number that you need. But I just wanted to get that out there because it worries me. It worries me quite a lot when people think that they have to address the concerns of xenophobes, of xenophobia, or of people who aren't themselves xenophobes, but who have been groomed and gaslit by xenophobes into thinking that foreigners are a threat. I don't think you can fix that feeling with facts. I don't think an ID card or quotas or a points-based immigration system, none of these things will actually work. Listen, I could well be wrong, and I really hope I am, but I see it as a bottomless pit. All right? I see xenophobia or racist rhetoric as a bottomless pit into which it doesn't matter what you throw, what good people throw things, how much they throw in. It's bottomless. It's not going to touch the sides. Because if your political attitude is built upon a hatred of people who don't look like you or sound like you, then as long as there are people who don't look like you or sound like you in this country, you're going to be susceptible to the toxicity that some politicians... One of them stood up in the House of Commons yesterday and claimed that his constituents in Blackpool would dream of living in the circumstances at the Manston Processing Centre. I mean, that's beyond stupid. That's disgustingly dangerous language. A week and a day after a terrorist attack upon a similar processing centre, a man called Scott Benton stands up and claims that his constituents dream of living in the conditions that asylum seekers endure in the Manston Processing Centre. That's how ugly this is. That's how gross it is. That's how seductive and intoxicating it is. But that's just me. That's just me, all right? And that may be a very small part of the broader conversation that we're going to have now, because I just want to ask you straight up, all right? What do you think about the idea of forcing everyone to apply for registration and carrying an ID card? What do you think of it, okay? And I'd quite like some positive voices as well on this one. I don't know. Is my honest answer to you. I don't think it will do what Stephen Kinnock is suggesting it would do, but it would help with some other things. It would actually allow people to prove their presence is legal, if you like. It must be awful to be suspected or accused or things like that. You've got ID cards everywhere from Sweden right across Northern Europe, but what do you think of this? 03456060973. And bear in mind, I'm asking you this question on a day when people are now being arrested for plans to protest.